On today's Two on Your Side Town Hall, helping the victims. We talk with one of New York's senators about the serious need for more money for the 9/11 health care fund. Plus, the Verify team gets some answers on questions about the ever-growing list of vaccination requirements. And countdown to kickoff. We'll check in with our pal Vic Carucci as we get ready for Sunday's Bills opener against the Steelers. We are glad you're with us here for the Town Hall. I'm Kate Wells-Schofer. Michael Wooten is in New York City as we bring you the solemn remembrances and tributes ahead of tomorrow's 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And those ceremonies have already started at the scenes of those attacks, including this one at the Pentagon that will continue throughout the weekend. And these 2 decades later now, the survivors and responders of that day are still having to fight to get funding for health problems that have come from that day. And Michael Wooten talked in New York City with Senator Kirsten Gillibrand about that today.
Kate, we're here at Mount Sinai Hospital in Manhattan, right by Central Park. This is where the majority of 9/11 first responders have been treated for their illnesses linked to the work that they did 20 years ago. There are more than 100,000 people enrolled in this health program across the country, people who now suffer from serious diseases, including cancers. 693 of them are from Western New York, the 3 congressional districts that touch our region. This is not just a New York City problem or a New York State problem. This is affecting first responders all over the country. And the fund is going to run out of money in the year 2025, and so there is now a push in Congress to make sure the money is there to cover all of those health expenses. Short time ago, I talked about all of this with U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Senator, thanks so much for your time. Here we are again talking about funding the health care for those people who served in the weeks and months after 9/11. I think a lot of people thought that this was over with, and it turns out that the money is just not there and could run out in just a few years' time. I wonder, how confident are you that this can get done and that this won't be something that goes to the end of the line with first responders begging Congress to give money to this?
So I believe that this is an issue that the American people want done. I believe that people understand that our first responders who raced up those towers when everyone else was coming down, who worked on the pile for weeks and months thereafter, first looking for survivors and then remains, and the family members that lived at Ground Zero who had to breathe in this toxic smoke, they expect Congress will do the right thing and provide for the health care of these heroes. We will do that, and we will get the political will that we need to make sure we have the votes to pass this. We're hoping to pass this bill in the next month as we create the resources that we need to build back better from COVID and the economic collapse that it created. So I believe that we will have the will to do this, and a lot of it's because the first responders have been coming to Washington for years now, asking Congress to do the right thing, and their heroism and their bravery is what shines through, and that we owe this to them.
It was mentioned today that this wasn't an attack on New York City, that this was an attack on America,
Yes.
and there are people dealing with these health impacts all over our country. There are hundreds and hundreds from the Buffalo area
Yes.
and every state in the country.
Yes.
Do you think people fully grasp that across America and the importance and just how far-reaching this is all over our country?
Yeah, I think they forget, but first responders did come from all over the nation. I think almost every congressional district had at least 1 or 2 people that came to do the work on 9/11 to first, find those survivors and then find remains and do the cleanup. And so there are people all across the country who need help. But this is a matter of doing what's right. These are our first responders, and these are the men and women who bore the brunt of this one battle, who were the ones who made the sacrifices. We have to stand by them because they stood by us when we asked them to answer the call of duty.
Finally, one of your Republican colleagues said today that this should be a moment of unity for the country. We are very divided right now. You think back to September 12th, 2001, and how the country came together. That is not the country, unfortunately, that we see today. How do you reflect on that now 20 years later?
So there's always room for bipartisanship, and there's always an ability to find common ground. And if this can be that one place where we come together to do what's right on behalf of the men and women who sacrifice so much, then this will be that place. But it stands as a reminder that we all serve the United States. We all serve our whole country, not just our own special issues. It's everyone. We are here to serve. And this 9/11 health bill is a great reminder of what we are here to do.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And specific to Western New York, Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center was recently certified as a place where 9/11 first responders can go and get their care instead of having to come far away like here to New York City. So that is certainly good news for all of those heroes from our region who sacrificed themselves here 20 years ago. Kate, back to you.
Michael, thank you. And as we take a live look now at Ground Zero, there is a lot more coming up tonight on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt anchoring the show live from the site of those attacks 20 years ago. And that includes Pete Williams looking at the changes made to help keep Americans safer 2 decades later.
9/11 transformed security for airline travel and big public events and resulted in the biggest federal government change since World War II, creating the Department of Homeland Security. It also generated a desire for people to take more responsibility for their own security. But in some ways, the government is still struggling to adapt to new threats. Drones, for example. Millions are now in use, but Congress only recently gave federal agencies the legal authority to develop ways to detect them and bring them down. I'll have more tonight on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
And then later on this evening, a special Dateline remembering the families impacted by that horrific day. Lester Holt shares the story of Flight 93 and the passengers who fought back to bring down the plane in a field in Pennsylvania instead of on its intended target. That will include some children of the passengers coming together for the first time to talk about it.
Anna Claire, what do you think we should be holding on to as we move forward?
Unity and just trying to live our lives in their legacy.
The other message is one of resilience, knowing that resilience is a muscle. So much of what happened on that day, I think over the years we've been able to reflect on as being an immense tragedy. But on the 20th anniversary, there's something, and maybe it's just sitting on this couch with you all, that maybe feels a little bit different.
That emotional story and talks with family of the passengers and crew members is part of the 20th anniversary special tonight at 10 on Dateline. You can see that here on Channel 2.